Hi there, and welcome to my first podcast. I'll be joined by Hero and Red. This is openings recorded afterwards because we didn't really record a proper opening, so I hope this will do, and hope you will have a great listening. You're ready to get into the juice of this podcast?
Let's do
Yes.
it.
Okay, I was thinking maybe we should do like warm up, maybe like campaign, because I know your view. I know I pick you two specific because I knew you two could have like different views on like Halo Infinite, especially in the multiplayer. So I haven't heard really much of you two of campaign, so I thought that would be kind of interesting to see how your views different. If you have played it all, or if you haven't, what have you heard, and what do you think of the idea of it? So I thought, what do you know? Have you two played campaign? We can start there.
Hero, you can go first.
Yeah, I've played through the campaign. I played through once, and I played through a second time with some friends.
Okay.
Also, sorry, my allergies are crazy right now.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I was outside yesterday and I was just like sneezing nonstop from the weather change.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, for me, with I played Halo Infinite's campaign once. It was, I don't know. I guess in my opinion, it was really great. I enjoyed it a lot. It was so much fun. My favorite thing was I was telling my friend Jared this the other day. I was like, yeah, my favorite thing was to get into the Warthog, the transport one, and then just like get a bunch of like Marines, and then just give them the biggest weapons imaginable.
Oh yeah.
To raid the place. That was like one of my favorite things to do in the game.
Same here.
Or yeah, like I also like the like just joking around and pretending that I was like Spider-Man with a little hook shot thingy. Or, wait, what do they call it? It's the
grapple shot.
okay, I always call it hook shot because I played Legend of Zelda, and so my brain just goes straight to that.
I used to call it grapple hook. Like, why don't people just call it grapple? Why do you have to call it? It's a grapple shot. It's a grapple hook. Like everyone knows, it's a grapple hook.
Yeah.
I don't know why people.
Yeah.
I guess people try to make it like give it interesting names, but I think it just in the end is it's just a grapple hook. You don't have to overblow it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a difference between calling naming a military faction and let's say you have an assault rifle. You just call the assault rifle. Don't call it like I don't know, the automatic rifle. You could call it that, but everyone knows it's an assault rifle. In the end.
Yeah. I mean, as far as Infinite goes, like there were a lot of things I liked about it and a lot of things I didn't like about it. I feel like the replay value of it was kind of not as like good as like other Halo games. Like I don't know, some days I'll play Reach and I'm just like, I just want to play this level or I just want to play that level. So the open world thing kind of messed that up. Not that I didn't like the open world. I thought the open world was amazing. It was just I kind of wish there was a way they were able to keep the open world and make it so it was easier for me to like pick up from another spot, because there were times where, well, like after I beat the game, it was like I raided all the buildings and there was like nothing really left for me to do. So I was just like, I just eventually lost interest in it because I was just like, oh, well, I guess I have to restart the entire game from the beginning to get to all these positions again.
Yeah, that was a huge issue I had with it as well. It's why I had to pretty much force myself to play with friends to replay the campaign.
Yeah.
It's just such a chore.
How did you play with friends?
Oh yeah, they added that so you can play co-op. You can't do split screen. Which I personally don't use split screen, but I do feel like it's a feature that should be there. Like it's like, for example, if I have someone over, I would love to like me and my friends usually had done like LAN parties at my place or others, and I would have loved to like bring like Halo Infinite and just play split screen co-op or custom games and stuff like that, but you can't do that, so that sucks.
Okay, so they actually added in the like multiplayer campaign.
They added in co-op. Yeah, I did
cool.
that. I did that with I tried to do that with my friend, and we just it's a thing I want to get into later, but we just breezed through. We didn't really had fun. Me and my friends had sort of this. I feel half positive, half negative. It's like no okay campaign. My friends is a little bit more negative with it because he just didn't find it interesting.
Yeah.
which I find surprising because usually he's more of a he's pretty fine with most stuff and doesn't have really complex. But when I heard him say that, I was like, you have a point. So I think that's a thing we can start with. A little bit with, I guess we could start with like you went into like a little bit more on mission and open world, but I guess we can go a little bit more in depth with it because personally I don't fully like the open world. I think it's for two reasons. One, my PC can't handle it for shit. I have to run it like in the low. Halo Infinite general, I have to run it like in the lowest settings, but just to get 60 FPS. But I also find that I do prefer more linear sort of the campaigns because I recently played Halo 3 on Heroic.
Yeah.
And I just felt I had a way more of a fun of a time than I did playing through Halo Infinite because it's so fun to experiment at first, but then I just find it a chore to run to one side of the map to the other. It was cool to fly over like with a Banshee. I think it had a lot of a potential. It wasn't executed very well. It felt too empty. I think Actman did a great point when he said that it's basically you in an open, empty world with Banished in it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the open world was. I was gonna say it was kind of like Far Cry 5, but even in that game, there was a lot more to do in the game.
Yeah.
The open world just felt like filler content.
Yeah,
I had fun, but it just killed the replay value for me.
Yeah.
I think that's also the big issue with the open world. I think they fixed it now that you can actually replay missions, but here's the thing with me in the missions. It wasn't anything special. Like, I played through Mass Effect, and it isn't really like a open world like Halo Infinite did it, but it's still like I was still like, I would say an expanded world. And I found they should have done that with Infinite, so have more of an expanded world than going full open world. Because with an expanded world, you could do a lot more with an expanded world in Halo. You can still have your linear missions, and you can have like different biomes, but still having like open, like in Combat Evolved, how they did that with how they were talking about, the second mission of Halo Combat Evolved. They could have done having more worlds like that and have them be expanded, but not fully open world.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it would be like Gears 5 to where they had like multiple missions or multiple sets of missions, but you had to go to different biomes to do the missions. I thought it would be like that so they could, fix the environmental problem.
Yeah.
So we only had Forerunner artifacts and places to walk through and forests. That was it for the whole game.
Yeah.
I also think that they didn't do really anything with you're on a Halo ring, like especially in Combat Evolved. Like I would say it does a lot with the ring. Halo Infinite doesn't really do anything with it. It could have been on Earth for all I know, and it would be exactly the same. Or maybe not the foreign stuff, but it could be in any like space station or space world, sci-fi world, and Halo rings especially are more interesting than that. I think they should have done something like they teased the Endless. Do something with it. Like, I know they were trying to do like expansion later, but you have to do something now to catch my interest.
Right. Like, what was it? In Halo 1, it was Guilty Spark was going to fire the ring, so they, it was kind of a big deal. And then Halo 2 and 3, it was kind of about trying to figure out whether they should use the rings to destroy the Flood, or like, what do they do about that? And like Guilty Spark going to try to use the ring at the end of like Halo 3 and stuff like that. So it was like the ring always kind of came back into play. Or like in Halo Reach, it was about Reach. It wasn't about like Halo necessarily. So it was like, okay, it focused on Reach. Whereas like Infinite, it was like, oh, look, the ring. And then it was like, that was pretty much about it.
Yeah, but that's because I think that they mostly did that because of, especially Halo 5, which has nothing to do with it. Halo Infinite, Halo 4, at least had a Forerunner world, and that was sort of the big thing. And I think I actually really liked Halo 4's campaign. I know a lot of people didn't, but I actually liked it. I especially liked the Requiem. I really liked that planet. Like they did, it felt like it felt like you were in like a bigger version of Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can agree.
especially like in the second mission when you walked into seeing that foreign structure. I was just, I just keep thinking like, I just kept thinking that was like so cool. Like it felt like going out of the going onto Halo in the first Halo game. I got the like
Yeah.
chills down my spine like I did back then.
Yeah, yeah, I can get that because I mean, I think one thing I liked about Halo 4 was it almost seemed like it was dealing with Bungie's original idea of like rampancy. I mean, I think the schizophrenia stuff was a little weird for Cortana, and I think they kind of just added that in there to make it a little extra dramatic. But I like the idea of how she was always like trying to grapple with the idea of I'll never be able to experience what it's like to be a human because I'm technically an AI. So that kind of gives people like a I guess like a drive or a feel for like the character because they're just like, yeah, you know, I feel so bad for this character. I want them to feel these things, and hopefully if you know the story just keeps going and she hangs on, maybe she'll get that. But
Yeah, it gets her
um,
death.
yeah. I feel like Halo 5 kind of went in the weirdest direction. I mean, I kind of like based on what I've read from like Contact Harvest and stuff like that, I see how rampancy works. It almost makes you like human and you essentially just think that you are like a god essentially because you're just like, oh, well, I don't age and I could do this, and well, humans are doing this wrong, so well, maybe I can do things better and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's, I feel like that's too, like, I know Halo is a very unique sci-fi universe, I would say. Doing stuff like that, like AI rising up, I feel like that's just a cliche we've seen over and over again. It wasn't really well executed. And I think Cortana is the last person you do that with. And I feel like I'm playing where they shouldn't have brought her back. I actually felt when I saw Halo 4's ending, and I was like, this is, I wonder what comes next. Like, how will Master Chief's humanity develop? Because they're setting that up. And I seeing Halo 5 with Cortana alive. First time I didn't mind it, but that was because I didn't fully invest in the story of Halo 5. I was still pretty fresh to the games, but when I replayed it, I immediately thought that was the most stupid idea I've ever heard. Because it just destroys. It just destroys her entire character. Like, for example, in Halo C, Ackman did a really good point. You're basically like Captain Keyes died so she could become like a dictator.
Yeah.
And everything like that. It'll be more interesting to see how. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, have you ever heard of like Bungie's Marathon?
I've heard them. I don't know, unfortunately, too much about them, but I've heard a little bit from like Hidden Xperia, and I know they were dealing with like the rampant scene. That's where they got it from.
Yeah. So like apparently, I forget exactly. Cortana is based off of a character in Marathon who eventually goes rampant, which to me that seemed kind of like a cool idea. I just feel like the way Halo 5 did it was probably the worst way to do it because it was like they killed her off just to bring her back as a villain, and it kind of didn't really follow up with much of her previous character, like how she wanted to like sacrifice in Halo 2 so that she could destroy the ring, and she was like, you know, the chief was going to be like, all right, let's do remote detonation. She was like, no, leave me here. I'm willing to sacrifice myself to protect all of humanity. And then all of a sudden, you know, like if she's in any actual like danger, like in Halo 4 when she's like starting to go through rampancy, she would have been like smart enough to like shut herself down, but they kind of like kept making her put everyone in danger despite the fact that like in the past she's shown herself as someone who's willing to sacrifice herself to protect everyone. And if she saw that these things were happening, she would have been like, okay, I need to shut myself down, try to come up with something. But instead she was just like, no, I need to. I'm not entirely sure where she was going. It's hard for me to say for certain because I feel like 343 doesn't entirely know what they were going to do with Cortana, because it was like, be strong and sacrifice yourself in Halo 4, and then it was like, come back as the main villain in Halo 5, and then die off kind of maybe an Infinite, and don't really do too much with that.
Yeah, even though I don't like how they killed off, like how they revived Cortana in Halo 5, I was at least interested to see what they will do in Infinite. And then when they did nothing with it, I almost felt like frustrated because you brought her back just to kill her again. why can't she just stay dead?
I mean,
Right?
That was what
I would say that the big issue with 343 is just commitment issues when it comes to their stories. They'll have an idea for what they want to do, and as soon as the fans don't receive it that well, they just change course and overcorrect big time. And it just doesn't come out right. Like in Halo 5, they brought Cortana back and they tried to make a whole weird story, and then people didn't like that, so they just completely overhauled and just completely changed it in Infinite, scrapping the whole story like they did before.
Yeah.
And it's just been a consistent issue.
I think it's just that I think it's a thing. I think Attack on Titan almost it's the same thing with Attack on Titan. Like you're giving someone else's project and you want to respect it, but so you want to listen to the fans. You do stuff with it, that you think fans gonna like, and then you sometimes course correct in the wrong direction. I think compared to Attack on Titan that did it in a right way, I think 343 is doing it in the opposite, where they almost do it like Disney. They try to appease the fans, but they go too far into it and not doing any of their own ideas, and don't let any of their original ideas, grow into something special. Because any change is gonna come with backlash.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I don't know, like the best way I could describe it is I usually compare like Disney's sequel Star Wars movies to 343's like Halo games, where the story, I feel like, because like for me, I feel like The Force Awakens and Halo 4, I feel like they were decent enough to be good, and then it was like the middle one, which was like The Last Jedi or Halo 5, it kind of like threw everyone off, and everyone was just like, wait, what happened here? And then because there was so much backlash, then you have like Halo Infinite and the
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, and then those two like did like a complete like 180, and then it was just like the story made like no sense, and they were trying to like course correct, and then it was like you were just kind of like, wait, what is going on now? I don't understand. And then they felt kind of like, clunky and poorly written and things like that, because it almost felt like their original ideas, they were just like, scrap it, nobody likes it, so we're just going to try something completely different. And then as everyone was trying to get used to the previous stuff, they are now exposed to something completely different, and now everyone's just like, what is going on? Do y'all have a plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think their main problem is. They don't have a plan with their story, and yeah. And I just want to say, your terminology using Star Wars, especially the sequel trilogy, is the best terminology I've ever heard with Halo.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like, for pretty much every new series or just any new, I don't know, anything, everyone uses the Star Wars sequels because it's the best example of what companies do.
I think
they try something, it doesn't work. They do a complete 180 and go in a weird direction. It doesn't work, so then they throw together a piece of soulless junk that is supposed to be fan service that nobody likes.
Yeah, I've been studying a little bit more on writing, and I've this is my opinion a little bit on fan service. It's something that you definitely can do. It's nothing wrong with doing it, but fan service should be like doing something for the story, and not just be there for example, like in Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched much of it. I only saw with The Mandalorian because I'm not really interested in. I heard it was pretty bad, but how they treated Cad Bane, yeah, I can see where they were going with that, but they didn't really do anything with neither Cad Bane or Boba. Like there was no really conflict. It felt like they just had him there because, oh, it's Cad Bane.
Yeah.
That's also a bit how I feel with Ahsoka. Funny enough, I saw you, I think you and I discussed this a little bit on Twitter, and yeah. Not exactly this, but we had a little bit similar discussion. It was something that I don't really think like how they used Anakin was that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like he was just. I know what they were going for. It was just not that well executed, and in the end, it just feels like unnecessary fan service, especially with the Clone Wars scenes. They didn't really do anything with it.
I totally get where you're coming from on that.
I thought Ahsoka was decent, but I don't feel like it was enough. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't agree with all the hate Dave Filoni is getting because I'm starting to see like people are trying like before they were saying yeah Ahsoka's a great character, now people are trying to say no she was bad from the start. Like no, she was not the greatest character, but she had to grow. That's the point of a character, and I feel like she still fits in the Star Wars universe. But now people are trying to say she never fit in Star Wars, like she should have never been created. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where does this hate
like,
come from?
It's so weird because like everyone did the biggest 180 on it. Because like my brother was telling me, because my brother got me into watching Star Wars Rebels, which I absolutely love Star Wars Rebels. I thought it was really great.
I haven't seen that yet, but I know a lot about it.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
It's pretty underrated compared to like a bunch of other Star Wars projects.
What I've seen, I definitely do get it. I feel like I still see the Star Wars magic in it.
Yeah,
but
I think that's one thing that Filoni does really well is he maintains what
Star Wars
Lucas. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just the problem is I think this is a thing people forget about movies. They do feel it with the games, but just not with movies. And that is, it is a collaborative thing. You may have your director, like the visionary, but everyone else like gives equal input in the project, like a writer. Like they challenge the director's what they want to do. And that's what we saw with the original trilogy, but that's not what we got with prequels, because in the prequels everyone was just like a yes man to him. No one challenged him really. Like that's why some of the dialogue sounds kind of weird.
Oh, actually, like let me bring this back to Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah, I noticed that myself. Like we're talking about Star Wars. Maybe we should do that another time talking about it. But yeah,
I have a question. Like, what do y'all think of Halo Infinite's like campaign story? Because that's been on my mind ever since I completed it, and I was wondering what y'all think of it.
Yeah, that's actually a thing I wanted to talk about in this, but we got into Star Wars. Maybe one day we'll do a Star Wars podcast. We'll see. But I feel in the writing, Master Chief and like the weapon. I was gonna call her Cortana the weapon because it's easier to distinguish between the two. Because yeah, I know they were going with Cortana, but she's called Weapon the entire time. So let's just call her the weapon. I feel their chemistry. That's what was one of the highlights, I believe. And then with the pilot, I feel like the personal drama between the three. That was a good part. What the fuck is the villain's name? Ashram?
Ashram.
Yeah.
Ashram. He was very forgettable. I like the voice actor. I feel like, but
the villains were all pretty forgettable.
Yeah, you never really saw him with Master Chief until the end. You saw him through recordings and sometimes with the POV shots, but you never felt like he actively planned something. You felt like he was just reacting to the Chief fucking over his shit.
It just wasn't personal.
Yeah,
like in every other Halo, like even Halo 4. Sorry, my throat is.
It's fine.
Right now.
You're good.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I
think I'm good.
Yeah. I find it fun that Red was the one who said he was somewhat sick, but yet Hero is here. It sounded the most sick of us all.
I turn around and cough, so y'all aren't really hearing much of it.
Yeah. But it's fine here. It's fine. But go ahead. You were mentioning something with Halo 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like even with the Didact, it was kind of personal with Chief because of pretty much his race against time to save Cortana.
Yeah.
In Halo 1, 2, and 3, the Prophets wanted to wipe out all of humanity. I mean, obviously.
And the Didact was trying to compose Earth.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It was always somewhat personal.
Yeah.
And you get to see the villains actually do stuff. You know, they would go around killing people, or
the Didact
they were
that
making
entire station.
Shot products. Or especially in Halo 2, it felt much, much more personal because of the Arbiter story.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But in Halo Infinite, it just felt like, Ashram was just kind of there to just taunt Chief and throw his little goons at you.
Yeah, he was like
a Saturday morning villain for a TV show.
Well, he basically is, with the fact that we were going for this I think at one point they were planning to do campaign DLC, and that would definitely be perfect like analogy. He was just another villain to get to the next villain. But I think I think what they I like how he almost like reacted like so you destroyed my army, but that is fine, cause I will kill you, you know? You are my prey! I think it was...
He did have some pretty good confidence.
Yeah, I think that was good, but I think he should have more of a... You could see like more, like... Now again, I'm gonna pick a thing Ackman said, because... I actually agree with a lot with what he said, basically. He should have had, you know, the elite assassin, the one with the red swords. He should have been been sent out by him to stalk him and, you know, be there ready to, you know, maybe catch him off guard, or well, you know, be more, you know, use him more like that, and see him have like plan this next attack and stuff, instead of announcing, "I'm sending my Spartan killers after you." I thought that was weird. Like, just send them out and have him talk to his like, I don't know, one of his generals about it. Like, send them out.
Yeah.
I think they should have just done more with them.
One thing that kind of got me was, I guess, like with the villains is, like, y'all mentioned already, but they just seem so forgettable, you know? It was like, I barely remember their names, and it was like the Prophet of Truth from, you know, Halo 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
He was just like, he just seems so, like, he's
well, the Prophet of Truth wasn't in Halo 1,
like,
but I do get what you mean.
Yeah. And Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
You remember?
Oh my gosh!
That was
I haven't seen that in years, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I actually saw them somewhat recently, like last year, I believe, and they're really good. I really like their villains. Like, you remember
what animal was the main villain in that?
Peacock.
Yeah. So the Peacock, he's not really a strong character, because throughout the entire movie, he's constantly like running away, or he's afraid, and he shows signs that he's like uncomfortable, stuff like that. That's kind of how like the Prophet of Truth is, but what makes him so dangerous is he has like a weapon that like gives him power, and like I kind of like the way the Prophet of Truth, he like slowly starts sacrificing the rest of the other prophets so that he can kind of become like the supreme leader of the entire covenant, because it's kind of like in like how empires fall, they have like a big group of people who work together, and slowly, one by one, they all start to die off until there's just like one left. It's like that scene where he's like, "The great journey waits for no one, not even you."
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that scene. Yeah, that was a really great scene. But I also think it's almost a little bit funny that Prophet of Mercy, that was his name. Sorry, sometimes I get confused with if it's Truth, Mercy. I know it's Truth, Mercy, Regret. Sometimes I used to get if it's Regret or Mercy, but I believe it was Mercy. And now, like, he's still on board even after he was betrayed. I find that a little bit funny.
It was Mercy.
Yeah. I find that a little bit, like, you can see how blinded he was to the belief that he believed that, oh yeah, I couldn't be saved. You know, you will all be left behind. I find out that sort of shows his a little bit of manipulation of the entire thing. He manipulated the others to like fully believe that. And as well, later on, you could hear him like on the side, the prophet of mercy is by my side. Like in audio, like it's a background thing, but you still like, yeah, he literally said that just to get people still on board with him.
Yeah, if you read the book Halo Contact Harvest, they kind of go into more detail of like what's going on and stuff like that, because I think the age before what comes up in Halo is the age of doubt in the Covenant, and apparently there's all these like rumors that all of the races that are involved in the Covenant are like, they have like friction, and they're debating on whether or not the Covenant might break and stuff like that. And so, what was it? After they like enter into the new age, that's when everyone kind of like their faith is like restored, and there's like no doubt. And that's why you see so much like blind faith from like the elites and the broods and the prophets and all the creatures like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, my original point. Yeah, I was going to say the Prophet of Truth, he's just so memorable for me. like when I played the games, I'm just like, I always think of his quotes. As for like in Halo Infinite, oh crap, what's the name of the villain? Eschurum.
Yeah, Eschurum. Like you can tell how forgettable he is, because we can't fucking remember his name.
He just didn't. He seemed cool when I first fought him, and when I was first playing the game, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so good! I love this guy. He's so intense. I can't wait to fight him. It's exciting." And then after I beat the game, like a couple months went by, and I was just like, "Wait, who was that guy again? I don't really remember anything about him."
Yeah, the trailer definitely made him seem like more of a really active villain.
To know him.
Yeah. Yeah, the trailer made him to seem like more of an active villain than he actually was.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a little bit because everyone was just hyped for Halo Infinite, and seeing the brutes was like the main thing, and seeing like we have a brute villain. But I think definitely he should have been Aatrox, and we should have more of. I think it would be better if you could sort of either had Aatrox with them and had like sort of meet the spirit of fire, and you sort of at first you see struggles, then you see like a. They could have had a sort of a scene where like the spirit of fire shows in, and they teaches them about how the Banished think because they have experience with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that was just a wasted opportunity. I was hoping they were gonna do something like that, and but they didn't. So yeah, it just feels like the Banished is just a different spin. Even though they are not as odd like the Covenant, like in Halo Infinite, they made them feel like another spin of the Covenant. At least in Halo Wars 2, they made them, they had their own beliefs. Like, they weren't really wanting to, as long as I recall, they were never really trying to activate the rings. They were just trying to, take the technology from the rings. Because that's how they work. They take technology and then recycle them. That's why you can see them Halo Infinite using UNZ weapons.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not even sure why the Banished don't really... They're at least not neutral in the UNSC conflicts, because they seem completely disinterested with, Covenant politics, UNSC politics. I just don't really see why they would really care.
Yeah.
I've always found that pretty strange. Because, if anything, they want to give each species a equal opportunity at working. And I think humanity it's always been behind the Covenant, so I don't know why they wouldn't at least
reach out to them,
work with them, or find a way to be neutral.
Yeah, that would be actually that would be quite interesting to see. If we had the creative thing, like we talked about before, how we can't commit. What if they commit to the creative thing and you had them with the Banished? That would have been fucking cool. Like you have the sort of thing Helios and the Banished later on joining, but they want something like in return, and you can have sort of that be the thing. That could have been actually kind of cool. Where they see some like humans be with the Banished, like maybe like the Insurrectionists could be with the Banished, maybe. Like sort of bring that into the Halo games, because the Insurrectionists are like a really interesting faction. They just are never really exploring the games like at all. So that would be cool to see. Yeah, because us debating this just proves like Halo Infinite doesn't really do anything new or like experiment or take risks. They sort of they played it too safe, I feel.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think like one thing that kind of got me was the who's the pilot that's helping Chief in the
Desparsa, I believe is his name.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Desparsa. That's one of the only it's a Hispanic name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the only reason I actually remember because I actually like the character, so I decided to remember his name. I don't remember his first name, but at least his last name was at least Esparza.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like throughout the game, I just referred to him as the Hispanic pilot because they like never mentioned his name until like the very end.
Yeah, usually I just call him Pilot, but I know his name is Esparza. But yeah, no one is gonna. I feel like it was like in the last minute, but I do like the Pilot. I do like him.
Yeah, honestly, I like the Pilot. I feel like they could have done better with him because one thing that got me was that scene where like it kind of shows that his like family died, right?
No, I don't think they died. It's just that he's been gone from there for so long.
I thought they died. Weren't they on the Infinity with him?
No, that was just a record. I think that was just a recording from his family. I think I'm not even certain. I know a lot of the Halo lore, but that's the thing I don't know.
I was curious because, like, in the game, it never really like specified. It kind of hinted that they had died, but it never said outright. And I couldn't really figure out like what his exact motivations were because it was like
He just wanted to
if
get away
they're
from
dead,
conflict.
yeah, if they're dead, then it's just like, well, then why is he trying so hard to survive? Because usually when people lose their family, they're more like driven towards wanting to die. So in my
Or
mind, I
like,
was
less
like,
funny to fight.
it's almost like Infinite was just kind of like, we're gonna keep that a little vague, and if the fans like that they died, we'll keep that. If they don't like that they died, we'll get rid of that. And
I think they kept
I
it
don't know,
vague.
it feels like they're not too like grounded in like what
They're
they
never
actually want.
dead.
Yeah, I think it has
That's-
more to do with because they were gonna do campaign DLC, as far as I understand, because they were teasing it with Ajax in the end. I think they want to keep it some things vague so they can explore it later. And I think that's sort of the problem. Like, they were trying too much to have a continuous story instead of making a story now. So they're setting
Yeah.
all these puzzle pieces, but never really. It's like a Chekhov's gun, I believe that's the term. Like, they have a lot of Chekhov's gun, they just never fire them.
Were they intending to do like DLC that you have to like purchase,
I
or
think that
was that DLC?
I think that was they're gonna either do it for free, or I do think they were gonna do purchase. I think they did that with MCC with Region ODST. So
yeah,
I'm
Ghost of Staten was working on campaign DLC. It was supposed to come out next year, I believe.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it was supposed to be the whole endless expansion, which I believe Atriox was a part of,
Yeah.
but he got fired. So
Who are the Endless again?
That we don't know. That's the thing.
We don't know.
Nobody knows.
Oh,
Like for all we know, like my hopes. Like I believe Sani put this right. Like if there were the flood, I would have fucking helped them bring them back. Like I was hoping. Like entire time I heard Endless, I was thinking, could it be a flood? I haven't watched any like about anything about the flags. I didn't know, but I was deep down. I was hoping, okay, hopefully this is the flood. Because that would be fucking great. We're on this Halo ring, at least in the lore. I know, I don't know if you two know about this specific ring, but this ring has a very dark history in the lore. Like, for example, it was used as experiment on ancient humans with a flood. Like, it had a temple called, like, the Temple of Pain. And, that was the ancient humans called it, because people went in, they never returned.
yeah.
And, you know, people that were tortured and just mutated with the flood. Funny enough, the Grey Mind not infected, but he was doing this thing where he manipulates people. I don't know exactly what it's called, but he manipulated one of the scientists to create these things. In like the vague hope to create a cure, but in reality, Grey Mind just used them to create more flood forms.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they could have played into more a little bit of the horror thing that ring has, because that ring has a lot of like, especially that ring, that's a lot of like, fuck.
How do you know about all of that?
Well, it's called Hidden Xperia.
Oh yeah.
I really love Halo lore, and I think Hidden Xperia and Halo Follower, like I watched the crap out of that because I loved Halo's universe. So, and they just told these stories, and I was just at awe with how much they worth about these things.
Okay, so it comes from like the books, I guess.
Yeah, it comes from the books. I believe it's the Fortnite trilogy. I believe that's where it was mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't read it. Funny enough, I haven't read any of the books. I started reading Halo: The Flood, but I never finished it.
I mean,
honestly, like my advice is like read maybe like Ghost of Onyx or Contact Harvest. I read The Flood, and it was like probably not. I don't know. I put it down for like several months, and then I picked it up, and I just like forced myself through it because I was just like, I gotta get through this. And after I finished it, I was like, it was all right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just it was basically Halo Combat Evolved.
Yeah, I read that was my first Halo book, so it was kind of. I was like, do I really want to read the other books now? I said it was just okay.
Yeah, I think it's better to like go to YouTube and like Hidden Xperia, who covers these things, and listen through that book. I think sometimes with the lore, like especially game lores, like certain when it comes to books aren't usually like the main highlight. I know with Halo it usually is, like especially like I haven't read The Fall of Reach, but I know a lot of people say it's a great story, and I've seen
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've seen the animated movie. I
Yeah.
did really enjoy it. I really liked that. The one thing I didn't really like was the animation.
Yeah.
It felt too stiff. It felt too robotic. Before I thought you saw this when I was younger, it's just sort of the art style. But now that I know more about animation, I just knew, yeah, that's bad animation. It has nothing to do with the 3D models themselves and anything. It was just the movement themselves were really rough.
Yeah,
But
I think they changed some like minor details from the book to the animation.
made I believe they made the Master Chief more. They changed him a little bit from where he didn't care about rank to where he did a little bit. I think that was like the minor change. But I have to say, the score for that for that movie, that was amazing. I've listened to the score like on its own, and it was just phenomenal. Yeah, they should. I personally think they should have done kept that put that composer in Halo Infinite. That was what I was hoping for, but I think they went with someone else, which is just a shame because he has done really nice score for Halo.
Wait, which person has?
I don't know his name, unfortunately. I should have checked his name, but yeah, but he's a really good composer. He did for that
Marty
movie.
Or Martin McDonald.
And Mario Donald. No, Mario Donald. That's the main guy.
Yeah.
No, Salvatore. Salvatore is his name, I believe. That's his last name. His last name is Salvatore, I believe. Mike Salvatore, I believe. Hey there, just a quick clarification. It was Tom Salta, not Mike Salvatore, who did the OST I was talking about. Sorry for the confusion, and hope you'll have a good continuous listening. Yeah, Mike Salvatore, I believe. He's a great composer. He did for one of the Halo mobile games, and he's really good. I recommend you listen to the Fall of Reach OST and what the fuck was the first one? Spartan Assault. Yeah, listen to those two OSTs, and you'll see how much talent he has. Like, he does new things, but he captures the spirit of Halo. Maybe not so much with the Fall of Reach, because that's a whole nother beast, but it fits with that sort of story. But I definitely recommend listening to those OSTs. Though, funny enough, I listened to Halo Infinite OST. I think it's actually kind of bland. Like, it has good themes, but it isn't, like, most of the themes are just, it's good music. Nothing really special.
Blasphemy.
Not blasphemy. I think that they were trying to honor the old music. They was just not really doing anything new, I believe.
Oh yeah, no, okay.
Like the one thing I felt they did something new with the old thing.
Halo 4 was okay, I think.
I think Halo 4 has
it was very different.
Yeah,
and it wasn't better than the trilogy, but I think it was just.
I bet people said it was something more like Mass Effect more than anything. But I think it has some good themes. I just think, as a whole, it wasn't like. It could have used a little more, sort of more instrumental, because I think they were going more digital with it. And I think that's the problem with Halo. Halo's always had this more orchestral. Sometimes they did some digital thing, but they were doing more of a orchestral, like Ancient Monks, for example. They were doing, stuff like that, and Halo 4 didn't really do that.
Yeah.
But I would be lying if I said I didn't really enjoy Green and Blue. I think that's like Halo 4's highlight.
Oh
like,
yeah, I like that one
yeah.
a lot, actually.
And like Mantis and
that one and 117 was like some of the best ones.
Yeah, I would say 117, Green and Blue, and Mantis. Those three are like my favorites. I think Mantis is the only like electronic score that works, because it's like a hybrid between electronic and instrumental, and it just gives you this. Yeah, I mean a big giant tank sort of thing, even though it's a mech, but you get the point. But with Halo, is only, I don't know what its name was, but it's the one that goes do 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 do. You know, that theme. That one that was playing like in the gameplay trailer at the end. And then they were relying on the old score going da 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 da. You know, that one. I think that was one of the good ones in Halo. Infinite especially. But the rest is just traditional music, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So what were some other questions you had about?
That's some pretty good music. Sorry. What were you saying, Red?
Wait, what?
No.
I think I was asking
Sorry.
other points, but I guess we have mostly talked about it. But I guess we went a little bit in conflict in character, but I guess we can, if you want, we can go a little bit deeper into it. But I think
What about what did y'all think of Halo Infinite's like soundtrack?
It was
Subpar.
Yeah, as I said, it was kind of bland. It had a lot of good themes, and especially with the theme where the pilot has his breakdown. I really liked that theme. I don't know the names of them, but I did really like that. But in general, it's alright. Nothing too special, but it's not terrible.
It just felt like a bunch of reprisals of old soundtracks.
Yeah.
That's why it fell flat for me. It wasn't anything new, and it didn't have the good parts of all the old stuff, so it was just subpar.
Like, even with Halo 5, even though I don't really enjoy that score, I can see that we're trying to do something new with it, and I don't know exactly. I like that, like the sort of thing Helios score. Like it was new. Maybe not something like that sounds like coming from Halo, but it was something new. And even though I didn't really enjoy as well the first score with Osiris, I can see they're doing something with it. And when they were recalling to all themes, they were like it felt like they were honoring it instead of like in Halo Infinite when they were trying to. We're gonna try to make it as much of a sounding as much as Halo as possible instead of thinking, let's make something new with the Halo score. But which I feel is a problem with Infinite, which Halo 4 and 5 did the opposite of thing. Let's do something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like they should have do something more new stuff with the old score instead of just going, let's just make the old score. But that's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I could see that too. There were some times I liked the music in Halo Infinite, but it didn't really feel like it was anything like better or groundbreaking or anything like that. It was just it was either good or I forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm noticing this podcast going a little bit too long, but I think we can do a final point a little bit with. We tapped into it a little bit earlier, especially with the villain, but I want to hear a little bit your opinion on this. How do you feel Master Chief has compared how we know how Halo 4 and 5 treated him? How do you say Master Chief portrayed? Like, do you think it's a better portrayal than Infinite, or do you think like Halo 4 or 5 did it better?
This is the one thing.
Hero, you go first.
Oh, okay. I do feel like this is one of the better things Infinite got right. Was the portrayal of Master Chief. I feel like in Halo 4 he was okay, but in Halo 5 he was just reckless and irrational. I mean, he pretty much sacrificed everything to go look for Cortana, and not like in Halo 4 when it was also to save the planet. It just seemed for personal gain. And in this game, he seemed more like Master Chief in the books, The Fall of Reach, even Forward Unto Dawn. It just felt more like Master Chief than it has for a while in 343 Halo.
Yeah. What do you think, Red?
Okay, so I'm like 50-50 because I think what got me was it looked like 343 was going in a direction with Master Chief. So they were setting him up in Halo 4 as kind of like losing everyone. And then at that point, he was starting to hit like a breaking point, I guess, where like in Halo 4, Cortana was saying stuff like, they'll probably get rid of me and I don't like the idea of that, and they'll probably just replace you with another Cortana and stuff like that. And Chief was like, no, that's not going to happen. I would never let them do that. And which also kind of bothered me in Halo Infinite when that was literally the ending. He gets like a new Cortana model and then she's like, oh no, what name do you think I should get? And then Chief was like, well, I think we know. And it was like,
no, I think that was the weapon said.
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay?
Yeah. The new. Oh, I just call her the new Cortana because she's literally just Cortana with Cortana's voice. And
I thought that was a really bad decision personally.
I think they could have done well with that. But here's my take. I agree and disagree somewhat with what you've said, and that is I really love Halo 4's Master Chief. I think that was a really good evolution of the character. Like, you saw him a little bit more vulnerable, like sort of desperate. Like, that's something we've never really seen with the Chief. Halo 5, that I will agree that he was just boring. Like, I don't think, like, it's not like he was assassinated like they were doing with the Halo TV show. Like, holy crap. I've seen clips of I haven't seen the show, but I've seen clips of that, and I immediately think that's not Chief.
I could do a 3-hour podcast about how much I dislike that show.
Yeah. Maybe another maybe another time. But with Halo 5 he was just boring. And I felt it was a really big waste of potential. Like, they could have done more with showing that he's sort of becoming more human. I think I've said this to Hero, but it was a rough idea I had back in the day, where you have sort of him going to the station in Halo 5, the station, the first mission you play as Chief, and you sort of have him maybe like help a girl out of there. Show him being a little bit more human. It's just an idea, but you have something to show he's becoming more human. Maybe he's, either opening up to people or, being a little bit sad around people and being more vulnerable. And here in Cortana, you could have played into that. Maybe she's alive and he's just desperate because he really misses her, but he ends up being someone else, doing something with that.
Yeah.
And then you can have in Halo Infinite sort of he's accepting that she's gone. And this new Cortana, he can maybe like really hate the new Cortana because she looks like Cortana, acts like Cortana, but isn't Cortana. And you can play into that a little bit. But that would require them having to plan that out.
Yeah.
But they didn't, so... But I do really like how they wrote Master Chief, because I felt like they were going back into how... what they set up in Halo 4. Especially with the pilot breaking down. Sort of having him be a little bit more vulnerable and saying we all fail, we all make mistakes. I really like that quote. Because I think that shows that this is the Halo 4 Cortana. The one that has grown. So that one that's, lost so much.
Yeah. I think, like, when it comes to Master Chief in all the games, like, Halo 1 to 3, he seemed like the kind of person who was kind of like a no-nonsense type of guy, and he did what he could just, like, make sure that the mission was completed.
Yeah.
And then Halo 4, he seemed like he was starting to break and kind of, like, become more, like, emotional. And then Halo 5, he was just, like, reckless and angry and kind of acting completely out of character. And then Halo Infinite, it seemed like he was kind of going back to how he was in Halo 1 and 3. And I think what kind of, like, got me about the whole thing was it seemed like 343 was setting him up for one thing, and then Halo Infinite, he was a completely different person trying to go back to his original route.
Yeah, they were backtracking a little bit on his character.
Yeah, like they did that with his armor too. They like don't explain exactly what happened. He just goes back to the old armor.
They explained it in the books.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, they did?
So
yeah,
cheap. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that, but that's another thing I feel it's like 343's biggest mistake. They rely too much on external media. Like that's it. I think that was a big thing they did. The Bungie did with Reach that said the games are canon over the books. Like, you may like the books, but the games are canon. We have control of the games, so the games are canon. And I feel like 343 needs to have that a little bit more. Like, books should add to the story, not be the story.
Yeah, it was kind of like in Halo 4 when they had the librarian going through all this backstory and stuff like that, and a lot of people were like, "Wait, what? What does most of this mean?" And then people were like, "Oh yeah, you got to read the Forerunner trilogy to understand what she's talking about." And everyone's like, "I don't want to read 3 books to find out what she's talking about. I just wanted to explain it in the game."
Yeah, I know about all that part because I watched RedSentiment and Halo Followers. So I know what happened between that time, but even I can say. They should have explored this in Halo. Like, they could have that info dump, like setting up the mystery. And then in Halo 5, you sort of explore a little bit. I know exactly how that would require me to actually think about it for more than 3 seconds. But you could have explored more in Halo 5, but still have that. You still have the mystery of the Forerunner, but you explore a little bit about the Forerunners.
Yeah.
And then in Halo Infinite, you sort of, focus more on the character stuff. It should have been like the end of an era, like the end of the whole exploring the Forerunners. Now we're going back to a little bit more the new conflict between the Banished.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things you could have done, but or they could have done. Saying you makes it sound like you are the writer. Well, maybe if you two were the writers, we will actually have more of a coherent vision and a story that you can actually follow without having to read a bunch of fucking books.
Yeah.
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 I guess I always keep saying this, but the big issue I have with the Banished right now is just, I don't know why they hate the UNSC at all.
Yeah, I believe that they're trying to go with, well, Cortana was made by the UNSC and Cortana destroyed his home, but shouldn't he know,
Aatrox
like,
is
being
such
the
a smart guy, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he seems like a very smart guy. He should have figured out, like, the humanity's fighting her too. Why not have like an alliance? Like that's what I said before. Have an alliance with them.
I mean, he had one with Cortana, which didn't go well for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
I think I could explore a little bit how brutes would actually like. We've seen elites fight with humanity. We should have seen how would the rest of the Covenant like work with humanity, and that's what you could have done with the Banished.
I mean, you wouldn't really have much of a story if you did that, but
well, actually, you could have. I believe you could have explored a bit more about well, the brutes' culture. We never really seen that in the games. I don't know. I don't think we really explored it in the books either. Like maybe a few here and there, but basically just enforcing that the brutes are like brutish. But you could have more seen like, well, how do they organize? Like, what are their cultures? What are like? Why do they do what they do? And you could have explored a little bit more by having maybe Escharum being with the chief instead, sort of being the representative, or having Aatrox be the representative and stuff. Do stuff like that. But it would maybe have the Banished split up in two, like one wants to follow Cortana because of the technology, and the other, well, Aatrox because he fucking hates her. I just feel there's a lot of things you could do with the Banished, and I just feel like they did a little bit more of the lazy thing. Like, yeah, they just replaced the Covenant.
Yeah, and the Covenant kind of had more motivation to like go after humanity because humanity's existence would have destroyed the Covenant during the Age of Doubt. So they were like, we need to eradicate them as quickly as possible. Whereas the Banished are just like, let's kill them.
It was like they saw humanity and seen humanity struggle. That just went, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. We just want your technology, bitch. That's it. That's just how I feel. They sort of wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing this podcast has gone over for like over an hour now, and I know that especially you, Red, you wanted to spend time with your have some stuff to do. We're not gonna mention because of what we said previously. So
yeah,
I'm
friends hang out.
Yeah, so I just want to say I really appreciate you two could come over and do this, and I would love to do this again. Actually, I had a lot of fun making this, and I haven't even well done in the editing. And I just want to say I had a really blast talking to you guys. And I believe, Red, this is the first. Well, I believe. By the way, I believe this, Red, this is the first time you and I spoken like with our voices instead of over text. So this has been fun, actually.
Dang, is it really? Wow.
Yeah, we have never talked like in a call. We only done through text. So.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Or through Twitter, but that's another thing. Or no, it's not even called Twitter anymore. It's called X.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was typing to Red about it when we talked about it over Twitter, and I used to when I wrote that, I in my mind immediately went, why is it called X? It's not like I'm talking about his X, not about X the platform. And I don't know you have an X, but that's just how my mind went, and I just find that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. X.
I actually had
whenever I hear of X, the first thing I think of is like xxx.com, and I'm just like,
isn't that a porn site or something?
It is.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I fucking hate that I know that, but
I don't know. I feel like the naming could have been better, because I know X is for etc. and for a bunch of.
Yeah, but Elon Musk.
various topics, and that's the point of it. But
Yeah.
I just feel like the naming could have been a bit better.
To be honest, when I think about it, I'm actually writing a book, and every time I think I'm so terrible at naming things, and then I see how like Elon Musk named things, I'm just thinking immediately, I'm a fucking genius. Like he's
honestly, like when it comes to naming stuff, it's really not like, well, like in Harry Potter, like the goblins, their like language is called gobbledygook. Like you really don't have to be too creative when it comes to naming things,
Yeah,
honestly, to
I just
create
don't
something
want
popular.
I just don't want too generic of names, like naming every character Jack.
Yeah.
Like, and or make it obvious that I took it from another character. Though I am naming one of the characters in the book last name Kruger, but that's because it's a German name and it plays into the rest of his character. Plus, it's also named that for me, so not the last name, but the before name. But that's a whole nother issue, so I'm not gonna go into that. But I was hoping we could talk about the multiplayer, but maybe another podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if we can do the exact same time. Maybe next time we could do it on a Saturday where you don't have to worry about it. Exactly how long it is.
It just has to be either before or after work for me. I usually work on Saturdays.
Yeah. Maybe a similar time like this, and we do something like this, and we just split it into smaller parts. But yeah. Thank you both of you for coming on to this podcast, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Glad you could be here. And I was realizing I have no idea how to fucking end the podcast.
We can just leave it right here.
Yeah. I guess we can also say, have a good one. So, have a good one, everyone.
All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Adios.